You felt it this morning. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic. Maybe a coworker said something dismissive in a meeting. Maybe it was smaller than that, a package that didn't arrive, a phone that wouldn't load fast enough. And in that moment, something inside you ignited. Your jaw tightened. Your chest compressed. Heat crept up into your face. You wanted to say something, do something, and the rational part of your brain had to work hard, really hard, just to hold it back. But here is what nobody tells you about that anger. It did not come from your bad morning. It did not come from the person who cut you off. That anger came from somewhere so ancient, so deep inside your biology, that the car, the coworker, and the slow phone are just costumes. The real source of your rage is approximately 2 million years old. Your anger is not a flaw. It is not a failure of character. It is not something broken inside you. It is one of the oldest survival tools your species ever developed, and it is sitting inside your skull right now, fully loaded, pointing at the wrong targets. Here is where the story starts. Around 2 million years ago, your ancestors were not sitting at the top of any food chain. They were small, vulnerable, and surrounded by predators that could end them without effort. Lions, hyenas, rival human groups competing for the same water sources, the same hunting grounds, the same survival. In that world, your ancestors needed a trigger, something that could override rational thought and force the body into action in under half a second. That trigger was anger. Robert Sapolsky, a neurobiologist at Stanford University who spent decades studying the stress response in primates, describes anger as one of the most metabolically expensive emotional states a body can enter. Within seconds of a threat, your hypothalamus fires a signal that cascades through your entire endocrine system. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your bloodstream. Your heart rate climbs. Your muscles receive a surge of oxygenated blood. Your pain threshold rises. Your peripheral vision narrows into a tunnel pointed directly at the threat. This is not an emotional response. This is a physical transformation. Your body is preparing for combat. And here is the part that changes how you see yourself. This response was not designed for the modern world. It was designed for a world where threats were immediate, physical, and life-threatening. Your ancient ancestors who felt this surge and acted on it, who moved toward the predator, who defended the camp, who drove the rival tribe away those ancestors survived. They passed their genes forward. You are the descendant of the ones who got angry, the calm ones, the ones who hesitated, the ones whose anger response was slower or weaker. Many of them did not make it. In other words, your anger is inherited excellence. It is the distilled aggression of every surviving ancestor you have ever had, and it is completely convinced that you are still living in their world. But you are not. The threat is a slow email reply. The rival is someone who got the parking space you wanted. The predator is a comment thread on the internet. Your ancient anger machinery does not care. It reads stress as a threat. It reads social rejection as danger. It reads losing status in a group as something close to death, because for most of human history, losing your place in the tribe actually was close to death. This is where the research of Baumeister, a social psychologist whose work spans decades of studying human behavior and aggression, becomes striking. Baumeister found that the vast majority of everyday human anger is not triggered by physical danger. It is triggered by what he calls the perception of injustice. Someone broke a rule. Someone violated your expectations. Someone treated you as though you did not matter. And your nervous system, which has no way of distinguishing between a social slight and a physical attack, responds the same way it would have 2 million years ago, with fire. Think about that for a moment. The fury you feel when someone dismisses your idea in a meeting, and the fury your ancestor felt when a rival stole food from the camp they live in the same circuitry. They produce the same chemistry. They feel almost identical from the inside. The content is different. The biology is the same. Now here is where it gets stranger. Your anger is not just ancient. It is also contagious in ways that go far deeper than you realize. A study conducted by James Gross and his colleagues at Stanford's Psychophysiology Laboratory demonstrated something remarkable, that observing someone else's anger response triggers a measurable activation in the observer's own autonomic nervous system. Your body does not just watch anger, it rehearses it. It preloads the response. This is because in a tribal setting, one person's anger was often a signal that a threat was approaching the entire group. Everyone needed to be ready. So your nervous system evolved to mirror aggression the way it mirrors yawning, automatically, unconsciously, without your permission. This is why arguments escalate. This is why road rage spreads. This is why watching angry content online leaves you feeling tense and irritable for hours after you close the screen. You are not just observing someone else's ancient alarm system going off, you are triggering your own. Now you might be asking if anger is this hardwired, this ancient, this automatic. Is there any way to actually work with it, rather than be ruled by it? The answer lives in a gap, and the gap is small. Between the trigger and the reaction, there is a window. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio, in his landmark research on emotion and decision-making, described the prefrontal cortex, the most recently evolved part of the human brain, as the structure that can intercept the emotional response before it becomes action. Your prefrontal cortex is essentially the newest addition to a very old house. The basement is ancient rage, fear, hunger, lust. The top floor is modern planning, empathy, consequence awareness, long-term thinking. And the problem is that in a moment of anger, the basement floods first. The top floor goes offline. This is not metaphorical. Blood flow to the prefrontal cortex measurably decreases during acute stress. You lose access to your most human thinking precisely when you most need it. But Damasio's research also showed that this flooding is not permanent. It lasts seconds to minutes. If you can extend the gap, if you can buy the top floor even a few extra seconds to come back online, the response changes dramatically. The body begins to recover. The prefrontal cortex re-engages, and something that felt like uncontrollable rage becomes something you can actually steer. Your ancestors never had this problem in the same way. They did not need to steer their anger. They needed to release it, immediately, physically, against an actual threat. The anger served its purpose and discharged. But you are living in a world where most of your threats cannot be resolved with physical action. You cannot fight the traffic. You cannot drive the email away. And so the anger loops. It has nowhere to go. It builds. It waits. This is the mismatch that defines so much of modern human suffering. A 2-million-year-old alarm, firing constantly, in a world it was never designed for. Here is what makes this hit differently once you understand it. The next time you feel your face flush, the next time you feel your hands tighten, your chest compress, that surge of heat rising up your spine, you are not losing control. You are standing in the most ancient inheritance your species has. You are feeling exactly what your ancestors felt, standing at the edge of the camp, watching the dark, ready to protect everything that mattered to them. The alarm is real. The signal is real. The body does not know the difference. Only you do. And that difference, that tiny, fragile, modern human awareness, is the gap. The 2-million-year-old machinery is still running. It always will be. But the question your ancestors never had to answer, and you face every single day, is what you choose to do in that gap. Because the anger that once kept your bloodline alive is now standing in your kitchen, your office, your inbox, and it is still trying to protect you. It has just forgotten what from.